Lauren Chen joins us this morning to talk about Chris Pratt's new film and the controversy surrounding it. And who knows what else will come up this morning on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Good morning, everybody. It's the middle of the week. We made it this far, and we have a wonderful guest with us today. Isn't that right, Andre?
We do indeed. So it is our honor and privilege to be able to welcome back to Midnight's Edge the one and only Lauren Chen.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back. It's great to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you here. And we also have in the chat as well saying, hi, gents. Hello, everyone. And she sent that just before we went live, so she probably didn't even know that you were here with us yet, unless you read the title. But I'm sure she meant you as well, not just the gents. But hello, everyone in the chat, and welcome. How are you doing, Lauren?
I'm good. I mean, it's been super busy, but I'm happy summer's here. We're starting to get some new movie releases, which is fun. And yeah, overall, can't complain. How about you guys?
All good and much the same. The world is not what you might call normal, but I think we're slowly going towards some kind of semblance of new normal that in part reminds us of what we had before. So that's all good and well. So yeah, actually Black Widow is in theaters in Norway. So I'll see if I can get into a screening or something like that. So
I think it comes out Friday where I'm at. So I'm also going to try to.
Comes out Friday here. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what we can do.
I ain't giving Disney $30, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, there are ways around that. If you have some free tickets left over from when one won a Rambo competition a few years back, I still have like free tickets.
You sure they're any good?
Yeah, they should be good until 2022. So yeah,
should be good. Creative Time Traveler sent us a super chat. Thank you so much. Says greetings from the past, present, and future. Well, that goes along kind of with our topic.
Yeah, very topical.
We'll get into here shortly. Somebody also said something about the Theliato. Am I saying that right?
Theliato? Yeah.
Theliato, pretty close. Hey, Tom and Andre, do you guys think this whole Cancel Chris might be used as cover for Tomorrow War's flop at the box office? Is it even out in theaters? I thought it was Amazon Prime only.
I mean, I don't know about distribution internationally, but I think in North America, it's just on Prime.
Yeah, and as far as I know, it's breaking records as far as their views go, according to them.
That at least is what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. I mean,
yeah. We have no way of knowing, but I do not think that anyone is trying to orchestrate a canceling in order to boost the box office. No. I have a very
I think this is something, we'll definitely get into this here. We might as well just get started with it. So, Lauren, this whole thing kind of started, about almost a year or two ago now?
Yeah, well, actually... I mean, the whole thing surrounding Chris Pratt, I just did a video on it, and I was like looking up all of his controversies. And I got to say, as far as celebrities go, this guy's pretty dang clean, right? I mean, there's no accusations of like sexual misconduct or, abuse issues or things like that.
Good old Midwestern Christian boy, from what I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, apparently it seems like it, but I think one of the first times he got in trouble in terms of like the media establishment and insider media was when he talked about Hollywood not necessarily representing the average American. So that was in 2017.
Okay, so we're a couple more years than two.
Yeah, that's dangerous talk, because any kind of hint within Hollywood that they might be out of touch or slightly elitist, that's forbidden talk right there, and that's going to put you on a lot of people's shit list right away. Namely, the shit list of those people who are the most out of touch, but who pride themselves of being among the people. They just look down upon them and want to lecture them at every occasion.
Yeah, what was crazy is that I was reading this article from Flair about it, which is, I guess, some sort of like entertainment, but there's so many of them I hadn't even heard of it. But this person was pretty much insinuated that by saying this, like, as a white male, that Chris Pratt was saying that he's all Americans, like America's just a white male. And it's like, well, that is not at all what he said. But also, like, he mentioned specifically blue collar workers. And I think, like, it's not, I mean, that's not a secret. And it's, Hollywood is so up about diversity nowadays. It's like, well, if he had been a woman and saying, yeah, Hollywood doesn't represent average people, they would have loved it. But it's like, literally, they're reading into his words because of what he looks like.
I think you're right. Yeah, they'd be like, oh, so brave and stunning.
Yeah.
They're right.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Pratt is the wrong color, gender, and gender preference, as well as religion and all of that, to be able to say anything beyond being an ally of the highest order. And anyone who doesn't express their allyship, it would appear, will be on the wrong side of the canceling edge pretty quickly. And Chris Pratt, he has found himself there before. And my recollection is that the first time I heard about it, that was probably after what you're referring to, with him saying that Hollywood is probably out of touch. It was just completely random. It was like some Twitter thread where someone was talking about who might be conservative in Hollywood. And then for some reason, they just decided that, oh, wait, Chris Pratt, he is right now the son-in-law of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger used to run as a conservative, plus Chris Pratt is Christian. So he stands to reason that he must be a conservative too. He's probably a Trump supporter. Cancel him.
And it's kind of interesting because it's like I was reading these articles and there are all these, he's never come out and said he's conservative. The only, record they have of him doing any kind of like charitable political contribution was to Barack Obama in 2012. But they have like, it's like, that list of the red strings, and they're trying to like thread things together. Like, oh, well, he's a hunter and also he's Christian and he was wearing an American flag shirt that one time. It's like all of these things together. But what I thought was so funny is that when he was getting all of this hate on Twitter, with the worst Chris threads that they used to do, and everyone was trying to cancel Chris Pratt, you had people like Mark Ruffalo and, Robert Downey Jr. come out and defend him like, no, this is a good guy, which is funny because when Brie Larson was getting all of that hate online, I don't remember anyone coming out to defend her as as a cool person.
I do remember in those interviews where she was like trying to buddy up and be one of the team. Yeah. They were all like rejecting her with body language. I remember that. There were like several videos doing that. So yeah, it couldn't be more of a night and day difference between who evidently is part of the club within the MCU, and Brie Larson wasn't in it. Chris Pratt very much so is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that speaks to the fact that, like, again, we don't know what his actual political beliefs are, and he's under no obligation to share it with us. That's fine. But, there are people who are trying to equate, like, his political potential beliefs with him being a bad guy. It's like, no, even Mark Ruffalo, who very outspoken, very progressive, like, even he says, like, this is just not a bad guy. So, I mean, like, I'm not saying for sure that whole situation might be why there's such a huge divide between critics and audiences, but we've seen the opposite hold true, where a critic will, kind of say like, oh, this is stunning and brave, even though it's not because of political ideology. I don't think they're past doing the inverse, kind of like trashing something a little bit just because, oh, Chris Pratt's a part of it.
Absolutely. And I do think that's one of the many reasons why many seemingly have it in for this movie that we are talking about today. But before we get into the movie itself, there's one thing that I also think is worth highlighting here. And that is like this very honestly scary notion that he has to come out and defend himself and say where he stands. Of course, he doesn't have to, but it is the expectation that comes from the, shall we call them, activists within the industry, which are backed by other activists on Twitter that start demanding that you have to come out and you have to distance yourself from anything Christian, conservative, what have you not, and show us how good an ally you are. Prove to us that you are an ally. It's kind of like what they're saying. And if you don't, we will cancel you. And so you're not an ally? Well, then we will cancel you. That seems to be like the general theme, just watching from outside.
Well, not just that, they also bring up his very public divorce that, if you really dig into it, boils down to the power dynamic changed in the relationship more so than anything. I think. And
we don't know. We don't.
And again,
know
I'm not going to get it. We know from interviews, though, what she has said and what he has said. And I'm going by all this. I'm going to say, like, why do they need to drag it up, though, every single time he comes out with a movie? Every single time. There's one right now that I was just, when I was looking for stuff for this, it's every single time they got to drag it up. The shit happened in 2017.
And, like, from what I can tell, like, they're pretty amiable as far as exes go. So this is not some Brangelina situation where they're like suing each other for custody.
No. And what I was getting at is she basically said in one interview was like, yeah, it became a problem that he became this basically one of the biggest stars in the world. And before that, she was the one that was the bigger star. And again, I'm not saying it was her fault or anybody's fault. It was just one of those things. The dynamics changed, and that changed the family dynamic, and they didn't get along anymore. And that's just how things work out. But they got to really drag that out there, and everything else, just like everything about him, and because he didn't speak out on whether or not you should vote, and he didn't show up to this thing with all the other Avengers, was the last time, like, Andre, that's what you're talking about, I believe, when they really went after him. Because I think even some of his fellow cast members kind of threw him under the bus, from my recollection.
Well, I remember he wasn't the only one who didn't. This, by the way, for people who aren't familiar, there was like a chance to win like a Zoom call with all the Avengers cast if you donated to Biden's campaign in 2020. But Chris Pratt didn't participate in it. I don't think he said anything about it. He just like wasn't a part of it. So it could have been for any reason. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't a part of it either. Again, because who knows, scheduling or whatever. No one was accusing him of being like this far right extremist because he doesn't have the same like, oh, well, he hunts and he is Christian and, all of that Chris Pratt does. So you can like connect the dots for it. But yeah, people were really throwing him under the bus and trying to say that because he doesn't want to participate in a Biden fundraiser, that automatically means he's pro-Trump, which isn't, again, none of this is an indicator that he is not a Democrat or that he is right-wing. He could just not want to kind of brand his persona as an actor with politics, which is funny because in this day and age, not wanting to be political, people are going to make that political.
Right. And we saw a similar situation with Kurt Russell. Remember when he come out and said, oh, yeah, I don't think actors should talk about politics. Yeah. They came after him. Oh, he's got to be.
He's got to be right-wing.
Yeah, because everyone on the left-wing side of the scale, from their point of view, is going to shout it from the rooftops and use it to show how good allies they are to be in with the club. And if you don't, well, then I guess you're out of it.
And honestly, I don't give a shit. Most of us don't care what side you're on. It doesn't matter to me unless it's something that's going to interrupt your career. Like, look at like what Patrick Stewart let happen to Picard is a great example. He really allowed his political leanings to take over that show. And not only that, the people in charge allowed it to happen because they're using it as a platform now to push this political ideology, and we're stuck in the middle. And it's kind of the same thing here, only in reverse. It's like Chris is just trying to stay neutral as far as I can tell. And didn't it come out later he didn't even get invited?
I'm not even sure about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I heard
that. I could be wrong, but somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But I thought I heard after the fact, like, he wasn't even invited. So it was like they condemned him for not even showing up to something he wasn't even invited to. Yeah.
And also,
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah, no, because they know that, this is now the son-in-law of the conservative governor of the U.S. or former governor of California. Is this someone that we want for a Biden fundraiser? But honestly, as someone that is not even from the U.S. or hell, even from North America, I have to say I actually long back to the days when we didn't know, when the celebrities were some kind of mystery, faceless person living far, far away in Never Never Land that we don't really know too much about, We certainly don't know their leanings or anything like that. And that's what kind of like made them work on screen. You can buy into them as the characters on screen because you don't have the baggage of their real lives to bring, basically to destroy the experience of the movie or TV series you're watching. Whereas, for instance, now I have to say, after learning just how, let's try to be delicate about this, how much of an hardcore activist Patrick Stewart really is.
Yeah.
I now find it difficult to go back and watch even the good old episodes of Next Generation because Patrick Stewart, through just exposing what kind of person he is in reality, I have a much harder time separating the man from the art. And that really shouldn't be an issue.
I agree. And I feel like I've had people say, oh, well, you're being a hypocrite because you're saying Chris Pratt's supposed political opinion shouldn't affect his work, but you guys hate on people like Brie Larson and Patrick Stewart all the time. It's like, if you look at actual like Brie Larson's work, all of her stuff is infused with like intersectional, feminist, whatever, like girl power seeds. It's like even the final Avengers movie, Captain Marvel itself, Patrick Stewart's like the new Star Trek stuff. Like, they're the ones who are trying to infuse their political persona into their work, which is not the case of like, if you've seen the Tomorrow War, it has its faults with time travel, which I have a lot to say about, but it's not a conservative movie. Like, it's just a regular movie. It's not woke, which maybe de facto makes it conservative now, but it's not like Chris Pratt is trying to like create propaganda for like the CIA to be like pro-Trump or anything like that, which I think is a foreign concept to the people on the other side.
I think to them it isn't woke because there isn't, like some non-straight sexual relationship at the forefront of the movie.
Yeah.
So, and I said it to Andre, I can see why they're attacking this movie. And I don't know if you want to get into that, Andre, or if you want me to just reiterate it, but.
Well, before we get into the movie,
I was going to say, if you want to hold off on that.
Let's wait a little bit before we get into the movie. I want to catch up on some super chats and stuff like that. Then we'll get into the movie itself and the flaws and the pluses and everything that has to do with that. Before that, we have a couple of super chats because we all want to hear what you guys in the audience have to say.
Yes.
What I can say right away is that we got loads of greetings and well wishes for our esteemed guest of today, Miss Lauren Chen, or Mrs. Lauren Chen, I believe it is now. So,
thank you guys.
Yes.
Congratulations. Everybody's getting hitched lately.
Yeah. I'm at that age where like I go on my social media and just like everyone's like getting married, babies popping out, just yep.
Yeah. But that's how it's supposed to be. I mean, that's how you shift from one generation to another. And if that wasn't happening, then there's something wrong with the immediate social circle.
Which is funny because that'll also lead into the film a little bit too, I believe, when we get into
it.
Actually, yes. And that's one of the things that I would call one of the benefits of the movie. But we'll get into that. First, we have a couple of super chats to go through. These are classics already, meaning I can't bring them up on screen. So you're just going to have to listen. Our good friend and Midnight's Edge Espanol co-host, Mexican Iron Man, says, huge fan of Miss Chen. Her analysis and insights are spot on, and admire her for speaking truth and doing what she does, so our entertainment industry and culture doesn't melt into oblivion.
Thank you. Man, it's awesome to hear. Thank you.
And Dash Attack says for $10, Jurassic World Dominion is Colin's revenge against Kathleen Kennedy. Original cast plus Chris Pratt.
I hope you're right. Oops, sorry.
Yeah. Then it continues, could be the first trilogy where every movie breaks $1 billion. Chris Pratt is a superstar.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, I hope it's better than the last one.
To be honest, I have not been a fan of the Jurassic World movies. I will still definitely see them because dinosaurs and Chris Pratt. But I mean, to be honest, I don't think those are great.
I'm with you. I mean, the Jurassic World one was tolerable. The last one, the Fallen Kingdom, was horrid. Jurassic Park 3.
Chris Pratt was good in it, though, wasn't he? Because
yeah, it's not bad. Well, it's not bad. I mean, personally, I don't blame him for it. I just think it's like even his character. It's like it's just very bland. Everybody's very bland in it, and the plot is bland. It's like you've managed to make dinosaurs somewhat unentertaining, which is a feat.
Well, I think the biggest problem is the climax of the film takes place in a mansion. So does 2/3 of the film. That's a problem. That's a big problem right there. And then the rest of it is, let's not even get into the whole cloning bit of the girl and all that stuff. It's just like, y'all are just going off the rails here now. It's just, anyway. I hope this new one is what I've been promised for some time, and that is dinosaurs run amok on the world. Mm-hmm. It's been called Jurassic World for 3 movies now. It's about time they actually get out into the world and see it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's time to get off the pot.
Exactly.
But the point is, though, that Chris Pratt, yeah, he's quite a likable actor, and the movies that he are in, they increasingly do fairly well, don't they? This is actually true, that in a normal circumstance, a third Jurassic World movie would be a look for the billion. That's really going to increase Chris Pratt's star power, whether they showed up for dinosaurs or for him. Mm-hmm. Still, he's in it, so he'll be part of that success. And if this movie is doing as good as Amazon says it is, and I see no reason to disbelieve that, for all the cancellation attempts, Hollywood is not going to cancel him because he keeps on bringing the big bucks.
Well, and Parks and Rec is one of the biggest shows still in streaming, from my knowledge as well. So, I mean, I was never a huge fan of it, but it, as far as I know, it does pretty well for streaming. So, I mean, Chris Pratt's well known enough. He's kind of like the new It guy. I mean, every time you bring up Indiana Jones, everybody's like, "Oh, he should be Indiana Jones," So, hey, and I watched the film. I didn't hate it. So we'll get into that though.
Yeah. And then we have Stephen Otten, who says for $5, "Hail Andre, Tom, Lauren, Wrenches, and chat. I'm still not giving Disney a dime, and the Tomorrow War has some issues, but it's worth seeing. 3.5 out of 5. So that's Stephen's review. And Darius Münchhausen sent us a popcorn super sticker. So did Gran Wazoo 42. So thanks for that. And Zax7 says for $5 Canadian. Or as Chrissy Meyer, I believe it was referred to them as California dollars. But yeah, heard about that. Anyway, Zach says, these are the same people who gave Roman Polanski a standing ovation. Come on now. So yeah, double standards are fun.
What's sad is Roman's not even the worst of the bunch. We don't even know half of the worst of the bunch.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, like Roman Polanski, Woody Allen, Weinstein for the longest time. Like I find it funny when these Hollywood types like try to be morally indignant. It's like so nice that you guys have taken time out from raping each other to like lecture us about politics and morality. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice when our betters take the time out of their day to do that, to educate us poor little pleb on their superior morals, so they can tell us how we need to do.
Well, that's the part that irritates me more than anything. Probably is not even just that part of it so much as the people that are so wealthy and get pampered on a constant basis, on constant ego trips because everybody's kissing their ass, and they're out there telling other people that they should be the ones sacrificing. That's why that Imagine thing was so badly received by they're like, are you fucking kidding? The last thing they should have ever done. The Hollywood elites. Yes, John Miller. Exactly. Ugh.
Yeah. Again, but from their point of view, the rest of us pleb, we need those elites to.
Well, and that brings us to Chris Pratt. Is probably one of the reasons why I don't like him so much is because he is just a regular kind of guy. I bet. Like, I doubt he's any of the horrible things. I'm sure he's not into all the late night parties and drug binges and all that kind of crap that they're into. Not to mention all
not that we know of, but
the sadistic shit. I don't see him like that. He doesn't seem like that. He seems like your brother-in-law. He seems like the guy that goes It's just, you go hunting and fishing with once in a while. That's the kind of guy he seems like,
Yeah, or surfing, because he basically lived like in a van or something, doing like as a surf instructor or something at some point.
Yeah,
I think it was Ray
also
Dong
he's a
Chung
beach bum. Okay, well,
who
whatever.
discovered him. Yeah, I think it was that. I'm cool with that. But yeah. And then moving on, the Creative Time Traveler says for £4.99. I thought the movie was good escapism for a change with a low woke score. So yeah, we'll get into that momentarily. Before that, Bad Meat and Brownies Tough. Let's see, tough what? Bad Meat and Brownies Thoughts is what it says. Just have to expand there. He says, Hail! Always love the content, always agree. Did a movie review of Pratt's latest. It goes completely off the rails. I know you'll enjoy it. Anti-Hollywood. So yeah, check out Bad Meat and Brownie's Thoughts review, I guess. Michael Gonzalez says, saw the Tomorrow War. Not great as a film, just okay. But presents fathers and men as awesome. Why aren't cancellers going after the filmmakers?
Well, they kind of
That is a very good question. Actually, I want to hear your thoughts on that, Lauren, because now we hear everyone, they've ganged up on Chris Pratt again. But Chris Pratt alone didn't make this movie. Why aren't the cancellers trying to go after the producer, the writers, the director?
Well, I think Chris Pratt is actually a producer on this as well, if I'm not mistaken. So that might also
at
be
least
why.
Executive, if not, but yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's because of the release and everything. I really haven't heard too much press about this movie in terms of like interviews with writers, or maybe that's just me, but I don't know. I feel like the release of this was not done like, one of the Marvel movies where there's all of this huge buildup with the insider media and or access media. And I don't know if maybe that actually is by design too. Not sure. But in terms of like wokeness, it's actually funny because someone mentioned that the cast at least is like very heavily non-white people. So it's like, it is a diverse movie if you're, just looking at racial makeup. So it's like, they should love this.
Pretty much.
You would think so. Before we move on, we have 1,000 people watching, which is awesome. Now, if you all can smash that like, that would be awesome, because it really helps out with the algorithm and makes the stream visible to more people, which is something that YouTube isn't always that good at doing.
Yep.
Also, I would like to chime in with the answer to that question. The reason why they're only going after Chris Pratt is because they already have it in for him. Reading the credits, see who else is producing, who else is writing and directing and stuff. That's difficult. I mean, it's very hard to juggle more thoughts.
Especially if it's not like a Steven Spielberg or somebody you know.
Yeah.
And also Amazon, they're kind of like good guys. They have like this whole diversity initiative and everything like that. So best not to rock the boat and go after the safe targets. And Chris Pratt is one of those. Let's not make it too complicated for the activists. They need simple instructions and simple goals.
I might know another reason here, but I'm looking here. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah. And we'll soon get into the movie itself. But a couple more super chats first. Golgo13 says, Chris Pratt and Kurt Russell are my Hollywood heroes. Do your job, do it well, and don't ruin the illusion trying to be created. Yes, good man. And then he concludes saying, howdy, Lauren and Midnight's Edge.
How do I what?
Howdy. Just howdy.
Like howdy?
Oh, howdy. Okay, I was like, I thought it said how do you. It's like there's a verb.
That's my bad. That's me barely speaking English.
Howdy back.
And then Mansam Song says for $10. He learned that pandering to the left didn't accomplish nothing when he put the non-binary girl in the classroom, and mostly all the co-stars and actors are black. And with that, we are mostly caught up. So let's try to dive into the movie itself. Lauren, can you give us a brief summary of what the movie actually is about to those that haven't seen it yet? And I know, for however popular Amazon says it is, many still haven't seen it. So give us a summary before we hear your review.
Sure. So essentially, the movie takes place in 2021, and all of a sudden, a bunch of people from the future, from 30 years in the future, so I guess 2051, show up and they say, we're fighting aliens. It's an extinction level war, and we need bodies. So they start recruiting people to volunteer to go on like tours of service in the future to fight said aliens. And, Chris Pratt is one of the people who does get drafted. And, I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't know what constitutes a spoiler with a plot like this. But yeah, it's essentially Chris Pratt, present day person, being shoved into the future to fight aliens for the survival of humanity. And actually, I have a lot of problems with time travel. Oftentimes it's enough to turn me off a movie. And I'll just say that there's a lot of inconsistencies with the way the time travel is presented in this. Even just based off of that description I gave you, it's kind of like, well, if you're bringing people from the past, like, wouldn't that automatically change the course of history?
They give some throwaway reasonings to some things, but yeah. Again, I was like kind of halfway through. I'm like, didn't I see this episode of South Park already? But no, like you're not wrong. It's a decent film for the most part, outside of if you throw your brain out the window and just accept it for what it is, as far as like, the few throwaway kind of things they give you. The reason I brought it up before was I talked to Andre. I'm like, I know why they're kind of going after this movie and Chris is because this is the kind of movie that Schwarzenegger or Stallone would have made in the 80s or 90s. So this has that conservative like sheen all over it, because if you remember, every movie that Schwarzenegger or Stallone made in that era was touted as Reagan era this or Reagan era that. It was always beat down to death, especially things like Rambo, which if you actually watch the movie, it'd be like, it's like completely against everything you're saying. But anyhow, again, I watched this movie and it's like mostly harmless. That's what I felt like after watching. Yeah, it's a little over long and there's a lot of places they could have trimmed it and there's all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
I feel like this is the type of movie that actually would have benefited from being a miniseries, because that's one of the criticisms that I have. Again, like it's not a bad movie, but it's not, in my personal opinion, an amazing movie. Is that like there's so much information that they're throwing at you that's just like bleh, and it's very kind of like, okay, this is task 1 for the first half of the movie, like or first third of the movie, then task 2, and it's like kind of, these could have been entire seasons that they're kind of essentially just rushing through. It just felt a little bit rushed. And one of the movies that my dad at least kept comparing this to, kind of unfavorably, is Battle LA, because you do have kind of that similar, like, okay, we're at war with aliens now, and you're just thrown into it. But I feel like Battle LA handled everything a bit more seamlessly, but it doesn't have time travel, so.
See, I go the other way. I hated Battle.
Well, you're wrong. You're wrong. Aaron Eckhart and his jaw single-handedly pretty much save us from alien invasion. So it's
I don't have the right makeup for that, so I can't agree with you there.
And I pity the aliens that will go up against Aaron Eckhart's jaw and makeup. So
no, I mean overall though, like you said, I mean, the movie itself, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's got plenty of diversity within the cast. Yeah. There's plenty of strong women, and they're not pandering in any way, shape, or form, it seems like.
But are they actively taking down the men and making the men in the audience squirm? Because from the reviews and the Access media, we learned that was one of the strong points of Black Widow, that it's a movie that's going to make the men squirm. And this apparently is a good thing.
Well, and it's funny because, like, in the movie, fatherhood is a huge theme. Chris Pratt's father is in it, and, he's a father himself. But I wouldn't even say that it's kind of like it's pro-male, because they're presented as flawed characters. Chris Pratt's father is flawed. He has his own, like, kind of issues in the movie. But they're just presented as people who are trying their best and who want to do better. They're not presented as perfect, which I think is exactly what you want in a film.
Well, I actually found one of the tweets, and I wish I had a screen capped it, but it gives away too much of the movie, so I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but it basically says that you have all these strong female characters, but then you allow the men to take over. And I'm like, I don't know about that. There's a lot of give and take, and like you said, Lauren, I think the strong notion through the film is family is important, but not just that. A strong male presence in the family, or at least a fatherly figure, is also important, because that's one of the big kind of points in the film that it keeps going back to, and like you said, through generations between Chris Pratt and his father, and what he's dealing with now, and how it goes forward. And again, like I said, if you overlook just some of the inconsistencies with the time travel stuff, it is a very 80s kind of 90s kind of film. It doesn't get into all this kind of crap we deal with in the type of movies we have nowadays, it feels like. At least for me, that's the way I felt coming out of it anyway.
Yeah, and I don't know, just like watching, like looking at the reviews, the things that critics are actually saying aren't good. I mean, it just kind of seems like, well, they thought this was a dumb action flick. It's like, okay, well, that's not really a valid criticism, because you're crapping on an entire genre. Like, judge a movie for what it is. Like, is this going to be, I don't know, like Requiem for a Dream? No, but it is what it is. So I thought a lot of critics were kind of being unfair for that.
I agree, but it's the same kind of movies that back in the day they would give shitty reviews to then, you know, even though we'd love them, you know, like I said, brought up, you know, the examples of Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies, for instance, or even Steven Seagal movies or Van Damme movies. I mean, this reminded me a lot of Time Cop, especially with the rules. So I don't know if you've ever seen that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, but it had a lot of that element to it, I felt like. But no, I mean, it's unique enough. It feels kind of a melding of a lot of different ideas, but you might be right. It might have been better if they turned it into a miniseries. But I don't know. Without getting into too many spoilers, it's difficult to talk about specifics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think something that everyone can appreciate is that the aliens look really cool in this. And that's always something that I'm like kind of wanting to like, okay, are they going to like disappoint us? Is it going to be not at all scary? I thought they did a really good job. I mean, their budget, I was shocked to find out they spent $200 million on this movie. Like, I think they made a smart call trying to like sell it off to Amazon. I think their deal was like 200 mil, because like right now, I don't think they would have made that back from theaters, but yeah, everything looked good in my opinion.
Yeah, you might be right without it. Go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, I was supposed to say that, the very few movies right now with that kind of a budget will be able to earn them back in theaters. Like, only some movies right now can fire on all cylinders and actually break even in theaters. And this movie, along with most other movies that we're seeing coming out now, were greenlit before any of this went down, under the assumption that there were going to be wide releases, meaning 4,000 screens nationwide in the US, full international release, full blockbuster treatment. That was the assumption going in. And when that didn't happen, and who knows how long it's going to take before movies can operate under similar circumstances again, selling off to Amazon and just taking the loss and taking that black eye might be the best option for quite a few productions, this being one of them.
Now, I got to ask, do you think this might have like the opposite effect that the Tom Cruise Day After Tomorrow movie had? Because when I saw the trailer, I got vibes like that movie, but it seems like this movie's doing well out of the gate. And then I think maybe the mixed reviews later on might not have the cult following the Day After Tomorrow or Edge of Tomorrow, whatever the hell it was called, that Tom Cruise movie, Live, Die, Repeat. They kept changing the name. That's all I know. But you know the movie I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's one where the marketing title actually stuck better than the actual title, which was Edge of Tomorrow. But the marketing title was Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah, I ended up calling it The Day After Tomorrow. It's Edge of Tomorrow. You're right.
Yeah, because then I was thinking like War of the Worlds. Like, that's the Tom Cruise. Like, is that movie? Like, he's done like, so many.
No. This is the
time travel one.
Yeah. I mean,
they're fighting the aliens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I only saw that once, because again, when it comes to anything to do with time travel, I'm usually like, no, like next. It's not just movies; it's also books. It freaks me out personally. It's like a pet peeve. But I think I did end up seeing that one, and that one, yeah, it it was pretty good, but I feel like at least with this movie, it's had like a concerted marketing effort. Like I follow Chris Pratt on social media. He's been kind of teasing this out. And that's the thing, when you have as big a following as he does, you can kind of save on marketing is to some extent, even though his salary is going to be bigger, because he can just talk about it and everyone's going to be like, oh, I should see this. Chris Pratt says he's in it.
Well, the director, Chris McKay, is already talking about a sequel, so we'll see, I guess. And Chris is not really well known, and that's another reason why I think they're not going after the people behind the film. Same thing with the writer, Zach Dean, never heard of him. Chris McKay, though, if you know him at all, he's only really well known for like the Lego movies and stuff like that, and Robot Chicken and stuff. He really hasn't done anything that big. So, I mean, that's probably why they're keying in directly on Chris Pratt. Plus, he's one of their targets, and I think that the people at Disney, he's one of the people on their list that they want to get out of the place. Remember, they've already been trying to recast Star-Lord a couple times now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I'm the same people that got Gina Carano fired, I think. Sorry.
Well, he's certainly on the shit list of some people in there, but again, it's a division even outside of Lucasfilm.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what they're going to do to Star-Lord, because I saw in the comics apparently he's bisexual or something like that, which some people are taking as a specific slight against Chris Pratt, who plays him in the movies. And I'm wondering, like, with him kind of like being teamed up with Thor, who they're also under, I don't know. I'm just like wondering what's going to happen, because he's obviously such a huge part of the MCU and those are successful movies. Everyone likes them. Is he going to be able to keep that, or are they going to kind of in an underhanded way try to undermine him in that context?
I wouldn't be so sure that if it comes from Marvel Comics that's a deliberate slight against Chris Pratt. Of course, it might be, but then again, if you look at if you look at what they've done to Thor and especially to Captain America, I mean, first they made him, a Yahtzee. That was one thing that they did to him. So he was like worse than Hydra all along. We are led to believe. And now,
and Hydra apparently deals in self-help information. Red Skull Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, how amazing is that? And that was written by the same writer, Ta-Nehisi Coates, that will be writing the new Superman movie for J.J. Abrams. So yeah, good times. But anyway, also more recently, in like this United States of Captain America, or whatever that special was, the one that brought us the variations of Captain America, including the one that I personally like to refer to as Captain Commie, because he does look like Captain Antifa more than he does Captain America. Even in that one, he's basically given up on the American dream, realizing that it was just hidden white supremacy all along. So, of course. Yeah.
It's like the Scooby-Doo reveal where it's like it was white supremacy all along. Like, insert that into every situation, essentially.
No, but there is some precedence for what Lauren's saying here, though, and that is because they've been trying to paint him as like anti-gay and anti-trans and all these things just because of his religious ties and no real reason behind it. And I think
I'm not saying that doesn't come into it. I'm not saying even if you are,
and I think that's why it was a direct reason why they did that. But no, I get what you're saying, though.
I miss the days when Warner did when Marvel did more sensible things. Like, for instance, protest their disapproval of Josh Trank's Fantastic Four by blowing up the cast and the pages of the Punisher, because they totally did that.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, apart from Michael B. Jordan, he was like, okay, so he was out of the office. But the other three of them, Punisher blew them up. So.
No, but yeah, the other main reason I think they have an issue with this movie, and again, it goes back to the whole, it feels like a movie from the 80s or the 90s, and that is the whole idea that family is very strong presence in this film, and it's a big part of this film, and it's the straight platonic family, or however you want to call it nowadays. I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to call it, and I really don't give a shit. But, that I think is also one of the biggest issues they're having with the film as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's too bad because, like, again, I feel like they're looking at this from such a far intersectional. It's because if you look at the movie, I mean, I would say this is progressive by like 2000 standards. You have strong female characters. You have a racially diverse cast. There's nothing outwardly anti-woke about it. I guess everyone is presumed to be straight, but it's kind of disappointing because the Overton window as to what is acceptable for them, like how far they need to go in order to please these people, it just keeps changing to an insane degree.
Yeah, and I don't know about that chubby black guy. He's questionable.
I like him because he's.
No, I don't think he's straight, is what I'm saying.
Oh no, he talks about his wife, right?
Oh, that's right. He does. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's his.
That's true.
Female
That's
wife.
true. That's true. Don't want to make presumptions, but I like that actor. I first saw him in Veep, so.
No, I had no problems. Actually, there was no real annoying characters in the film. I mean, honestly, that's why I kind of have less issues with the time travel than you do. And honestly, I normally have issues with time travel in movies. To where in this one, I was like, I can buy it enough. You know, because at first, that was my first problem going into it, is the same issue everybody has when they see the trailers. Like, it doesn't really make sense to send people from the past into the future to fight a future war. It would make more sense to send people from the future into the past to fight. Yeah, but never mind. Anyway,
no, you know what would make much more sense instead of going 20 years back into, or was it 30 years or 20 years they go back?
There's a reason for it, and they explain it in the movie. But go ahead.
It's long enough that they could have just gone back and say, you know what, there's a war coming, so you need to like start building weapons, and you need to start developing tech, and you all need to get busy because we need more soldiers who are of fighting age when this goes down, so you need to start getting busy and making kids right now.
Without giving too much away, the movie does kind of in a roundabout way get to that. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
it's not a good explanation. And one of the things that also bothered me about this is that they send people. I don't think this is a spoiler. They send people for a 7-day tour. So you go to the future for 7 days to fight. That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why specifically 7 days? I mean, they try to justify it, but it's like if this is actual like serious problem, like in World War I and World War II, was like your tour of duty was done like when the war is done, and I feel like if it's that serious, that's how it should be.
No, you're right. Like basically, what they get to in that third act is what should have been striving to do from the start.
Yes,
it should have almost been like a Groundhog Day type thing, where like every time they go through this loop of, this time we'll get it a little bit closer. And again, I don't want to give too much away because it is the way it plays out. It's a fun watch. If you can turn your brain off for a few minutes, it is definitely a popcorn movie. I'm not trying to make excuses for it in any way, shape, or form. But the characters are decent enough. The overall arc is there. I mean, you care about these characters by the time you get to the end of the film, and that's what matters most to me, I guess, in the end. And like you said, the aliens are kind of cool. And how they kind of figure out what they're doing and that whole bit. And it does feel almost like 2 or 3 different movies, though. I think you're right, Lauren, because that's where I feel like it's like too long, is like, that's maybe where you're like, they're trying to get too much into a 2-hour some movie. And you're right. I think it would have been better split up, even if it was like a 3-part miniseries or something like that, maybe. Yeah,
something like that, because I do feel like there are 3 distinct parts to it, which is normally you have 3 acts in a film, but they are so far removed, and like also like tone, mission, what they're trying to accomplish. It's like this could have either been like a trilogy, 3 separate movies, miniseries, regular series, frankly, something like that. But I'm not surprised they're going to be working on a sequel, because at the very least, there is an interesting concept or lore behind this.
Right. And if you can, like I said, if you can get away from the whole time travel element, which I don't want to get too into it because it gets away with spoilers, but it's enough for me to buy into. That's all I needed. Like it's enough. It's like, okay. But I agree with you. Like they should have been doing what they do near the end from the start. And that's where they should have started the film kind of. But anyway.
And also a criticism I have is that Yvonne Strahovski, I hope I'm saying that right, as she's in this, she is not in this enough, in my opinion. I absolutely love her. And, she was very heavily featured in the trailers. I'm not saying that she's like not in the movie at all, but it's like I was hoping she would play a bigger role than she ended up playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you can never have enough Yvonne Strahovski in a movie.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's some actors and some actresses where no matter how big a role it isn't big enough.
Because she doesn't even show up until almost an hour into the movie, maybe 45 minutes. But it's quite a ways in. Yeah,
it is. And I mean, I guess even just like I felt like the setup of the movie, it happens very, very fast, but also it takes a while to actually get there. I don't know. It's pacing was kind of strange.
I agree. Because you feel like you get to that one point and you're like, God, feels like I've been watching this movie for 2 hours already, and you're remembering stuff from early on because it's calling back to certain things, which it does do a pretty good job of. Don't get me wrong. But again, it's a 2 hour and 18-minute running time, I think it had.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept going like, God, that was that long ago already. And it wasn't, it's like, yeah, it's like, this is a time travel movie. This stuff should seem like it's, and the movie's clicking along. It's never really slow, but I think maybe there was like some kind of re-edit that could have helped maybe. But again, that's nitpicky bullshit.
Yeah.
In short, though, it's a pretty cool movie overall.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 8, or that 3.5 out of 5 is probably fair.
Yeah, I have gotten so many positive reviews that I intend to see it the first chance I get. I just didn't have time in between learning that this was going to be the main topic of today and right now. So, yeah.
But I mean, the good thing about this movie is that because it's on Prime, I mean, it's very low investment. It's not like you have to. Yeah, it's on your streaming service. You could just tune in. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's actually one of the good things with Amazon as a streamer. You can say many things about Amazon, but in terms of like watching movies on demand, they do make it easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to get a whole different streaming service just to get that one movie. So there's that. And we have a couple of other super chats with others who want to chime in on the movie. We'll start with some of the super chats that we can get up on screen. We have some classics, so these are out of order, so we haven't missed yours, to those wondering. We just haven't gotten to it yet. Daryl the Derelict says, "Hail everybody. Flashing between the second act and third act would have made it more intense. Great popcorn flick."
Maybe.
I'm personally not a fan of that.
Yeah, not really. Not unless it's Tarantino or somebody like that who actually knows how to handle it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Adi Daba X says for $10, "The woke want their future daughters to tell their fathers in the past to end whiteness, folks. God created the world in 7 days. They're creating the new woke world. This is a woke movie." And I do believe Adi Daba X sent an earlier super chat on that note as well. Let's see if it was him or if it was someone else. Let's see. Yeah, he did. Adi Daba X also said earlier, "Unpopular take. This is a woke movie against whiteness. Pratt and grandfather win by accepting woke daughter's threats to not love him. The aliens are white Russians." Again, I haven't seen the movie. Is this a little bit conspiratorial, or is there reason to take this interpretation seriously?
That's not the vibe I got, is what I'll say.
I think you're reading too much into it, but that could just be me, because I didn't get that at all out of it. In fact, I could probably point to a few things that would go against the woke narrative, but yeah, that's just me. I mean, obviously, you're free to feel the way you feel about it, though.
What I will say is that if you can read different things into a movie, sometimes one is plainly wrong, but other times that's a strength of the movie, because it means that they have engaged the audience and they have.
And at least there's probably nuance and not
exactly.
Just,
not just preaching, not just virtue signaling and the elites talking down to you, telling you what to feel.
I don't know. I felt like it made it a point that fathers are very important to me. At least that's the way I felt coming out of it. But again, people interpret things differently.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it myself, so I will have to defer judgment on that for the moment, other than to register that it's obviously something that fosters discussion. Adam Wofford says for $10, "The moment you travel back in time, you create a new timeline. So the future isn't the same. And if they could travel on the same line, they could take out the aliens before they woke up."
Well, not to get into spoilers too much, but in a roundabout weird way, they almost get to that point. It's really... kind of convoluted in a weird way, but it works, but it doesn't.
I think it's like you're gonna have a better time if you just accept what they're telling you at face value.
Yeah.
Just don't question it. Just
yeah. This is like the thing with time travel movies. Each and every single movie is going to have their own rules for how it's going to work. And the answer is switch off brain and just go with it and try to enjoy a movie and don't try to make too much sense of it.
Really?
Because in actual reality, ain't no such thing as time travel.
In my opinion, and I got to stress my opinion, outside of the time travel bits and some of the pacing, the movie is fine. I mean, really, there's nothing I can really get down on too much. I mean, like Lauren said, it's got a great concept. Would I have done it differently? Sure, but I can't, it's not my idea. So, I mean, I just got to accept what they did with it. And granted, like you said, you turn your brain off for 2 hours and you're fine.
Yeah, awesome. Then we have Hypergiver 2, who says Aaron Eckhart, a less handsome Viggo Mortensen.
Wow. Yeah, I think they're pretty different. They have pretty different roles usually.
Yeah, I don't think the two are similar at all, but yeah, Hypergiver 2 evidently seems them similar. Yeah, let's see them both do a Danish movie and see who does better at that. And Willie Woodward says for $4.99, hey folks, hit the like button. Andre and Lauren are as gorgeous as they're insightful, and Tom's okay too.
I try.
And Mexican Iron Man says again, I enjoyed Tomorrow, and the White Claw aliens are like Hollywood SJWs. We must fight now before the SJW White Claws take over the planet Earth. Go fight, win. Yes, words to live by. And Paulus Plain, my countryman, says that I will have the first C-19 shot at 9:30 tomorrow. So yeah, good luck with that. And then he also says, koalas in the rain, no F's given. So he's evidently looking forward to the end of the show already.
That or he thought maybe he wouldn't get to that till the end of the show. Who knows?
And 6 says, bite your tongue, Willie Woodward. Tom is hot. So yeah, you have some support there. So then there's 3 hot people on the panel. But of course, Lauren has the 2 of us beat. That is only fair.
Absolutely.
Only if you're a guy, though. So I'm sure there are a lot of female audience members who would disagree. Well, maybe not, but
I was gonna say everybody likes boobs.
No speaking for preference. That's it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's hard to. Yeah.
And that's why I think so many of them are jealous of them and they're trying to destroy them. But anyway, that's a totally different conversation.
Yeah. Poor that Star Wars girl. She's very familiar with those people.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And we have also some of our other toxic femmes that are into that. We had like a great talk on that topic between Chrissy Mayer and Mandy on Monday. So for those that haven't seen that, head on over to Midnight's Edge Live archives and check out the chat between the two taking on the war against femininity in Hollywood. That was a real treat. So yeah. Do check that out. And we got this one. House Atreides said, the first 2 big blockbuster-style movies out this summer, Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard and Tomorrow War, are not woke. Let's celebrate that.
Well, the first, the Hitman's Bodyguard is pretty much flopped, but...
I was so surprised they made a second. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure about that one either. I mean, the first one was okay, but, I'm glad to hear people have liked it. You're not the first person I heard who liked it, so maybe it's better than the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay. I actually, I didn't finish the first one, but I personally, like, it's, if you're just looking for an action comedy, and there's also not much else in theaters, and that was the first time I'd been to a theater in a long time, so.
Oh, you saw the second film?
Yeah. I went to theaters to do it because there was, like, right. I hadn't been to a theater in so long, and I mostly just wanted to like get out of the house, but yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Not amazing, and I feel like they need to spend more time like actually writing jokes. I could feel like a lot of that was improv, and they just like left it. And I think comedy writers are getting really lazy now and just kind of banking too much on like, oh, it's Selma Hayek playing a wacky character and Samuel L. Jackson like screaming at each other. Isn't that fun? Like, no, spend some time like writing clever dialogue.
Yeah, I was kind of turned off by the trailer, but I was barely a fan of the first film. So,
yeah. And then we have our good friend and great YouTuber, Yellow Flash 2, who says, in reference to what we mentioned before about Star-Lord suddenly being, like a little bit more gender fluid in the comics. He said, "Oh, it's a slap at Chris Pratt. The writer was Al Ewing, and he is a political weirdo." So, yeah, there you have it. There absolutely was something more to it then, evidently. And then Michael Miller wonders why Paramount didn't send it to Paramount Plus. There's a very good answer to that. Tom, do you want to take it? Or Lauren, do you have any thoughts on why Paramount sold this movie to Amazon instead of putting it on their own streaming service, Paramount Plus?
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that. That is a good question, though.
Yeah, Tom, what's the answer to that? Exactly, money. That's the answer. Yeah. They can put it straight to Paramount Plus, and then they can write off a whole $200 million. Actually, more. It's going to have like a negative cost of, well, say 200 million. Then that's 200 million lost, gone, because the money they're putting into that, they're never ever seeing again. They'd much rather sell it to Amazon and get actual money back for their investment, and then put series and stuff that they were making anyway for Paramount Plus. I mean, they can put everything on Paramount Plus, but they are not Warner. They're going to go broke if they do that. That's the simple answer to that.
Yeah, that's why they sold Coming to America 2 and all that stuff. They needed money.
Yeah. And then Super Blubberpuss wonders, how does mostly black cast considered diverse?
Is it mostly?
2/3 at least.
Yeah, I mean, I can only think of 3 characters who are black.
Well, there's only like, yeah,
there's only like, I mean.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, is it majority black, or is it...
as far as like main cast, as far as majority of the time on screen, it's pretty even keel throughout.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well then it's diverse by their standards.
But there's not much else other than black and white characters.
That's true. Missing out on the Asians.
There's a couple of mixed, and that's about it. Otherwise, probably, yeah. I don't remember seeing any Asians at all.
Yeah.
Lauren, did you read Amazon's new criteria for diversity and inclusion for all their movies and everything going forward, including from third parties?
Yes, I did. I mentioned it a bit in the video that I did about the whole Lord of the Rings thing. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's very fun. Because actually, the thing that I thought was so amazing there is how they're basically begging for parity. Because the most important thing there is black representation. And yeah, they'll also have other underrepresented groups. Asian would fit in among them. And they also want people that are... what were the terms that they use? People of like different mental capabilities,
like
differently
abled or something.
Yeah, different abled and stuff like that. And then they also added it has to be a speaking role and all of these other things. So Asian and disabled and chemically imbalanced and what have you not. All of these can be the same character. It doesn't have to be. The different characters. So look forward to many Asians in wheelchairs who are gender fluid.
Yeah, and
it's not entirely right.
It's so
thinking
stupid
plots.
because they're essentially turning writing into like Mad Libs, where you have these set parameters that you need to fit, and then you can just tweak little things here and there. And I could imagine that must be so frustrating as a creative person, as a writer, where you're trying to shoehorn your story into this. Like if you want to tell a period drama story, taking place in England, now all of a sudden you have to bring in these themes that A, you may not have wanted to focus on, and B, might not have even made sense for the time. So it's just...
Yeah, good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think we are mostly caught up. And I don't know how much longer we have you for, Lauren.
I'll probably need to head out around now, if that's okay.
Sure, no problem. And we are... it's always a pleasure to get to have you here to talk to us, and hopefully we'll get you back again soon. And you got anything coming up you want to plug, or anything you want to talk about real quick?
So far, no. I guess just, if you are looking for a political and social commentary, you could find my main channel by searching Lauren Chen. And then if you're into more just like kind of entertainment stuff like this, the channel is Mediaholic. And aside from that, I'm at the Lauren Chen on Twitter, Instagram, Telegram. Trying to think of, I'm pretty much everywhere, just if you search.
Yeah. And to make it really easy, if you just head into the link, or rather the description of the video, there we have already linked to both of your YouTube channels. Both the entertainment channel and the political channel are both linked to, in addition to your Twitter and your homepage. So
awesome.
Everyone, go and check out Lauren Chen for some great content on all matters that you could be interested in. And with that, I would like to say thanks for joining us. You've been here a couple of times before, but it's always a pleasure when you have the time to drop by and pay us a visit.
Same here, and just really love your videos. I watch them as often as I can, and thanks for all the work you do putting out content. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Excellent. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for your time. Take care. All right. So with that, I think we were almost caught up on super chats.
Yeah, but we got one in here, which is actually one. Oh, did you bring it up? So
I did have it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. My countryman, who is due to be waxed tomorrow, says for 100 krona. Midnight's Edge, never stop. Yeah, we don't have any plans to. And here's a good question for you, Tom. Why do Americans call cinemas theaters? Theaters are where you see people in costume in Norway. And this is actually not just in Norway, but in most of Europe. When we say theater, we are referring to theater as in people are acting live on a stage. Whereas the word that we have for when you say theater, where you watch people on a big screen, where you see movies, that in all of Europe is some variety of the word cinema. It could be kino or something like that, but it's always a variety of the word cinema. Whereas theater is reserved strictly for live performance. So, Tom, as an American, why can't you get with the program with the rest of us?
Well, the easy answer, first of all, is just because we like to have 20 different fucking words for everything. To make it more difficult on everybody. Not only that, there's a lot of regional colloquialisms. The biggest one is always like soda pop and what people call it in one place and another. Of course, the word cinema is used, and we use it in that term and sense, and normally theater in that term and sense as well. Now, if I want to give my best historical reasoning behind this, is probably because when movies first started becoming a thing, most of them were shown on screens or sheets or whatever at a theater where you would normally go see a theater program. And my guess is that just the name stuck with it. And then it's just kind of one of those things like a colloquialism of a type where we just in most places it's just considered a theater or a movie theater. And not only that, live theaters became very far and few between once cinemas or movie theaters became more popular. So that's probably another reason why it just kind of replaced the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
even though we still have it, but like I'm willing, like most of the movie houses we had up until the Cineplexes, 90% of them started as theaters. So
yeah, you are, and that of course is the 100% correct explanation. And it's actually interesting because you have like many things like that happens when you're separated by an ocean. So yeah, what happened there is that it was simply called theaters because yeah, you would screen movies in the same theaters where there were live performances. However, in most European countries, a new word soon emerged for cinemas, whereas in America it just kind of like stuck. It wasn't brought over. It was a word that came later, after America had been colonized. And what's funny is you have the same thing in Spanish languages. What I think is so interesting there is that in mainland Spain they speak with a lisp. They lisp whenever they say the word S and a few other things, but they don't do that in South America or in the Canary Islands. And the reason for that is that just like the word cinema, that trend only came into the motherland, for lack of a better term, after the colonization. So yeah, that's why. Interesting fact of the day. And with that, we are caught up on super chats. So, Tom, did we have any other stories for today?
Outside of just some minor stuff like Kevin Smith talking out his ass again, which I think we're going to have a video coming up on soon. There was some Blu-ray.
We will very soon. I had to take it back. We are not caught up on super chats. We got a couple of other ones.
Well, let's grab them.
Well. Yeah. We have our good friend Cultured Casino says, "Great job here once again. Thanks for having Lauren Chen on today. We need more 80s, 90s action films hitting cinemas in 2021 and going forward." We do indeed. Notice how Cultured Casino, who is a cultured man, said cinemas. STR Red Wolf, by contrast, says the Hippodrome Theater in Baltimore usually has live action play performances, but on occasion will play movies. So it's even more confusing. So yeah, there you go. But honestly, I will say that that's honestly a pretty big non-issue. That theaters are used interchangeably as live action and movie screenings. I think most people will know the difference. So there are bigger issues facing America right now than that. Tom, take us back into the story. I do believe that you were saying something about Kevin Smith having...
Well, he was talking a little bit about how, clarifying through his legal speak that this is not a sequel to the Filmation He-Man series, mind you. It is a spiritual sequel, which we all kind of knew. But the fact that he has to point it out just to me tells me that he's trying to cover his ass even more. He tweeted out again that tweet from Clownfish for some dumb fucking reason. Again,
the tweet that he never ever should have answered?
Exactly.
That
and
one?
So I don't know why maybe he's worried.
And he has every reason to be. And you know what lesson from this is? Folks, if you are a director or something like that, and you see someone put out a tweet with information that you don't like, just let it go. You don't have to answer.
Especially
you don't have to answer to allegations that are beneath you to answer. And if you are a huge producer or showrunner and those allegations happen to be true, well, you definitely don't answer them, because that's one way to make sure they won't disappear.
Yeah, because this is going to come back to bite Kevin worse than anything if this is true. And from everything we've seen so far, it's not looking good for him.
So, of course, it's true. The only honestly, the hope is that the series is, despite of the stuff that they have done, is still going to be good. That's my hope here, because I really want it to be good. I don't want there to be a He-Man series that I don't like. I mean, we already had that with the New Adventures of He-Man. I don't need another one of those. I especially don't want something where I can say, whoa, New Adventures was better. That's the last thing I would want here.
Right. So yeah, other than that, there really wasn't much else other than a lot of Blu-ray news coming out, but we talked about some of that, and I know that's not really huge news for us here on the main channel. So yeah, it's been slow just because, the holiday weekend and all that kind of stuff. But we did get a super chat from Gulgo13 here. He says, Kevin Smith is working his way to being a horseman of the cinematic Antichrist. Jar Jar Abrams kick ass if he screws Master of the Universe. The sad part is it didn't have to be like this. And Kevin is his own worst enemy right now. And that's what I think Andre was getting to most of all is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And also, Dyrus says that it's a bullshit comment. If it was a spiritual sequel to He-Man, it would be a completely new cartoon in the style of He-Man. No, actually, but I see what you're saying here, and I see where Kevin Smith is coming from. Because here's like the thing, that in order to make like a canonical sequel, they would have to go through the current owner of the Filmation series, which I do believe is Universal. And then they would have to make it in conjunction with them, so that Universal would be the ones making it. That way, they could kind of like make it a canonical sequel. What they're doing right now is just like with Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, they are making something that looks the same so that we will think it's part of the same series, but in actual reality, it's a legally separate entity. And that's kind of what it is and what it has to be unless it's made by Universal. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's how it is.
Which is something we're going to get into in a later date, but we've been kind of talking about here and there about how there's this big, huge separation in the IP right now, and within so many years, a lot of things are going to revert back to Universal, and Mattel only owns certain rights right now, and I think that once they revert, they only own first refusal to toys, and that's it. So they made some stupid deal at some point. I have no idea why.
Yeah. We'll see what we can find
out. Other than
out
they needed some money. Yeah, we're working on that, though. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. And White Knight says, Andre, check out He-Man 2002. It was He-Man done right. Oh, I am very well aware. It's sitting on my DVD shelf right now. The complete DVD set. That is one of the best reboots of all time. It really is. I cannot recommend the 2002 series highly enough. And honestly, I don't think that Kevin Smith's series is going to be half as good as that. That series was everything that you would want from a reboot. It was updated, but at the same time, it was immensely true to the original source material. It was a little bit more advanced storytelling. It was like long-running storylines and everything like that. It had humor.
No, it was brilliant.
It was absolutely brilliant. I can't recommend it highly enough. And the only thing that I dislike about it was that it was canceled prematurely. And there are 3 cancellations that of like series and stuff that I will just never, ever be able to get over. And that is one of those 3. Just think of everything we missed out on in that glorious 3rd season that is never going to come now. We missed out on Hordak. We missed out on She-Ra. We missed out on more of the Snake. Oh my God. It still breaks my heart that series wasn't allowed to continue all the way through to its natural conclusion.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you here, Dance Game. I did not care as much for the changes. But if they could have given me a series that looks like this Kevin Smith series with that storyline, that's exactly what I want. Because I've told Andre too already, like that's what they need to do for these movies. Just go watch the 2000 series. Make that.
And you know what is so incredibly frustrating? It's like here they have made King Grayskull black. And what about Sodak? Sodak was completely thrown away in the original Filmation series, which was fine, but he was given a huge role in the 2002 series, and it benefited from it immensely because he was tied in with Hordak and the Snake Man. Why the hell couldn't Kevin Smith do that? Why do you have to like race bend King Grayskull when you had Sodak right there just waiting to be exploded? Or exploited, I mean.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense.
Or put to full extent. It's unbelievable. And he's one of the coolest characters of all the Masters, and they did nothing with him. And they race bent. Oh my God. Unbelievable.
You're gonna get my triggered again, he says. You're gonna trigger me because I mean
I'm triggered. I have to share the love around. So yeah,
this whole thing doesn't make sense to me because they make her Man at Arms. That's what it is. It's like, dude, she's not even supposed to be Man at Arms. She's supposed to be the next fucking sorceress.
Exactly. She's hot and badass. Yeah, exactly. That's like
she's got her own fucking thing to do. Instead, they send her on this detour without He-Man, basically. And then and why the fuck is Evil Lynn there? Evil Lynn should not be there.
Well, I will give benefit of doubt.
Unless there's
I have something in it for her. That's not among them.
Because that's the thing. Unless there's something in it for her, I don't see it. Because that's the way. Skeletor is more complicated than everybody gives him credit for it. And that's why I love the 2000 series, because they expanded on what he kind of was in the Filmation series. And people never give the Filmation series enough credit for making Skeletor a little bit more three-dimensional than the normal cackling bad guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's funny how they've I don't know. Anyway, I swear I haven't seen the show yet, so you're right. I can't comment, so I'll wait.
Yeah, that is one thing that I'm very willing to wait with. And yeah, someone also, it disappeared from the screen, so I didn't see who asked, but someone wondered what were the other two, because I mentioned there were 3 premature cancellations that like I'll just never be able to get over. That was one of them. The other really bad one was Star Trek Enterprise, because I always liked Enterprise. I know that is an unpopular opinion, but I really did. And I know what they were planning for season 5, and it would have been glorious, and we never got it. And it bugs me no end. Yeah. And the final one is something that not enough people were aware of. It was a series that went on ABC almost a decade ago now for just 1 season. I think it was called Forever. It was with the guy who played Mr. Fantastic in the Fox's Fantastic Four movie, like Ian Grufford or whatever his name is. And the story was similar to Highlander. He played an immortal. He didn't know exactly how he became immortal, but if his body was destroyed, he would just like respawn into the ocean. And it was also dealing with him living and while everyone else around him aged, and now his adopted son, who everyone thinks is his dad because he's an old man, is like worried about his dad and what's going to happen when he's no longer there to take a look after his dad and everything. And it was a beautiful series. Like, I use that word very sparely, but that was a beautiful series. Yeah. And I was absolutely heartbroken when it was canceled after just 1 season. If you find that series, ABC series Forever, I can't recommend it highly enough. Just prepare for the heartbreak when it leaves without seeing a proper conclusion.
And we got a couple of super chats here.
Yeah, Perilous Plane, my fellow Norwegian, says never stop. Koalas in the rain. So yeah. Oh, and also with love from Norway. So
awesome. Yeah. I like this Skeletor complicated.
Yeah.
Mexican Iron Man also sent us another super chat. Thank you so much.
And he says, Andre, could you share again why He-Man means so much to you, like you did on Midnight's Edge Espanol? It was wonderful to hear. Yeah, for those that haven't seen it, I was hosting Midnight's Edge Espanol yesterday, the live show there. Actually, you should watch that every Tuesday and Thursday anyway. So please head on over to Midnight's Edge Espanol. It's not exclusionary to any English speakers. On the contrary, the live shows are like a good mix between English and Spanish, and there's some good stuff there. And for the channel to really take off, we need your help, and we need more people to subscribe and to share it, because YouTube doesn't do anything to push it before it hits a certain critical threshold. But yeah, the gist of it is basically, I'll put this in a later video, but the gist of it is that I grew up in Norway, and Norway today is the same as everywhere else, but that wasn't always the case. There was a time when Norway had one foot behind the Iron Curtain. Like politically, we were absolutely on the Western and American side, but culturally, you had a lot of people that were, and by all means, if you look at our government and stuff like that, that still are hardcore communists, and their loyalty was always with like the more extreme communist regimes. And one of the ways that this manifested itself was in the entertainment that was available in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and all of that was before my time. My time began in the 80s. And people who are younger than me, they have no recollection of this, but I'm just old enough that I remember back when Norway had one state TV channel. And we would also get 2 state Swedish channels, and they were every bit as bad. So all we would get was like the state programming absolutely all the time. And in terms of children's programming, we had half an hour every single day for children's programs, just half an hour between 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Then we would have the children's TV, and that would be an assorted mix between homegrown fare, which was good in its execution, but very socialist in its model and messaging. We would also get other similar stuff from Sweden and from Denmark. Mostly, we would get animation straight from the Soviet Union. So we would have like a Czechoslovakian puppetry and Polish, what are they called again? Like moles, like those animals that crawl in the ground, and like freaky stuff like that. I mean, some of that stuff was really freaking out there. It wasn't bad. Like some of it was really good, but it all had like one message, if you know what I mean. And the only thing that we would get from like the West was from the UK. There we would get the original Thomas the Tank Engine. Again, good socialist entertainment, like trains, hard workers and stuff like that. Also Postman Pat, good worker. The only thing we would get from America was Fraggle Rock, good socialists. And then one day, and this was against the will of the one state channel, we got straight from the UK the Sky Channel, meaning that kids older than me who discovered music videos with Rick Astley and stuff like that, and kids my age, we suddenly got animated series, like real animated series, stuff like Transformers, like G.I. Joe. This was all good and well, but the thing that really blew my mind was He-Man. Because He-Man was literally another world, a world I had never imagined could exist. And that showed little old me two things. One is that you can dream, and there's more out there than just what we're seeing around. So that was one important experience. And another one is basically that it led me to discover all of genre culture and all the stuff that we love and talk about here on Midnight's Edge. He-Man was my gateway to all of it. So yeah, that's my story with He-Man. That's why I don't really feel anything with what happens with Star Wars. It doesn't mean anything to me at an emotional level. I disapprove of what Kathleen Kennedy has done intellectually, but I don't feel it because I didn't grow up with Star Wars, and I've made no secret about that. But He-Man, that's being messed up. That freaking hurts. So yeah, that's the gist of the story.
So there you are. And Nicholas Horton sent us a super chat as well.
Yeah, and he says the 2002 series Faker was planned for the season 2 finale. Skeletor would also take over Eternia, banish King Randor to the Spondos, and the season 3 premiere. Evelyn would finally release Hordak.
That sounds like something Evelyn would do.
Yeah, why couldn't we get that? I'll never get over that. I'll never get over that.
I don't know if they have it over there, but there's supposedly if I remember right on that DVD that got released here is the script for that episode.
Yeah, no, just for the one episode.
Yeah. But no, yeah, they were supposed to be bringing all that. Yeah, tell me about it. I was so pissed when they canceled that.
I still haven't. I'll never get over it.
Yeah. And
that's basically what yeah, and here Norway was once part of Sokovia. Culturally Norway was once part of Sokovia.
Grand Wazoo says sends us a super sticker here. I can't see what it is. Hang on. It equals I think we're demonetized. Yay. It is a pair dropping the mic.
Yeah, it's oh, that's what it is. All right, yeah.
And then Ram Bam says, "Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down." There, you've been rickrolled.
Yeah. No, seriously, that music video that was on all the time, and that was for those that were a few years older than me, that was their He-Man. That and Samantha Fox and everything else that would come. But I was too young for that at the time. To me, it was all about He-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of my earlier memories too, but yeah, great singing. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Never gonna give, never gonna give. Yeah. Unsubbed. Oh, well. Sorry about that, Pete.
And Hypergiver 2, we missed this one, said, to me, making King Grayskull black was the final straw. He lied on 3 different occasions, got caught, and cried about it. He can take a leap.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not too happy about that. And you know, what it is what it is.
Yeah, what can one do?
It's going to make him look bad. So...
yeah, well, we'll see. I would much rather it actually turn out good despite everything. Because other stuff I don't care about, but I want He-Man to be good.
Yeah, and if it's not, he's going to cry about it anyway, one way or the other. So,
yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, and I got a good comment in here. I just have to find it again because the chat moved on me. It was another fellow countryman of mine who chimed in. Parallax wonders, no Thundercats in Norway? I have no recollection of Thundercats when I grew up. And I don't know anyone else that did either.
Thundercats.
So maybe that wasn't on the Sky Channel or whatever we was, but I never knew of the existence of the Thundercats till I don't know the 2000s. So I missed out on that completely. And yeah, no, it missed out on me. But anyway, and also we have something else that we have to talk up before we leave.
Yes, we do. Iconicon, for those who are into all cool things from the 80s and comic book and franchise-oriented type stuff. A lot of the stuff we cover here at Midnight's Edge. Our good friends over at Retro Blasting and a bunch of other channels have gotten together for this thing called Iconicon. So tell them a little bit about what we're up to as far as this goes and what it's about, Andre.
Yes, indeed. Iconicon is basically then a convention, pure online convention that was started by our good friends over at Retro Blasting, and it's a very heavy 80s theme. Now, has been most helpful and put the description that you'll also, or the link that you'll also find in the description in the box of the screen right there, so you can click it right now. There you have the schedule for Iconicon.
Melinda was already making me hungry this morning by making cake.
Yeah,
a Superman cake, and it would look good.
So basically, there are a bunch of different panels spread across all of the participating YouTube channels, and we have a panel of our own as well. And our panel is on Friday, and it's actually at the same time that we would normally have Midnight's Edge in the morning.
So in other words, a bunch of news is going to drop that day.
In which case we will do a special show after our Comic-Con panel. But the plan then is, and we've already put this up so that you can put it in your bookmarks and everything like that. On Friday, instead of the regular Midnight's Edge in the morning, we will have the Midnight's Edge Iconicon panel, which will be the 80s sword and sorcery panel. Now, of course, since we're
all going to be about Yor. We're going to talk about Yor for an hour.
Yeah. Well, it's not just going to be Yor, because since we're Midnight's Edge and we do context, we of course are going to begin with the history of sword and sorcery. And then the bulk of it is going to be the sword and sorcery cinema of the 80s. The fall and the decline. So you definitely want to come and check that out. And D-Bud Martin puts a bunch of Conan features in there. Yeah, it's going to be Conan. It's going to be Conan, and it's going to be Yor, and it's going to be
Highlander,
Master, and Red Sonja, and a bit of Highlander, a bit of everything. It's going to be awesome.
Yes. And guess what? Tomorrow, actually, you can catch me talking about Ninja Turtle toys at this same time, but it's on a different channel. I'm going to make sure I got the right channel here. While I look that up, go ahead, Andre.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, there is an Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, and who was really the biggest hero of the 80s panel. And I, of course, will be participating in that.
You know, it was me, of course. I don't think so. No. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out, huh?
Yeah. So, but that's just ours. There's so many other interesting panels there. So just head over to that link, iconicononline.com/schedule, to see a list over all of the events, and all the videos are all live shows, and they're all free. So just go check them out and support our really favorite creators.
Yeah, there's some cool interviews and all kinds of stuff coming up. And I shared the link for the show tomorrow. That's going to be on Ed's. It's called Ed's Retro Geek Out. So check out that channel tomorrow. At this time, I'll be there talking about Ninja Turtle toys. So be there.
Yes. All right. And there will also be some Deathstalker talk, and of course the Barbarians, starring the Barbarian Brothers. I saw someone bring that up in the chat.
Which, you know, Deathstalker you cannot get on Blu-ray right now. which is bullshit.
Could you ever?
Yeah, it was a show. It had Deathstalker and Deathstalker 2, and now it's out of print. It's expensive as hell.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah. Hopefully they re-release it sometime soon, because I really don't feel like paying those kind of prices.
Yeah.
Anyway, they do have the Barbarians still in print, though.
Yeah, that's such a cool movie. I love that movie.
Stephanie Janicek comes in with, we'll have to talk about Norway with you, Andre. Cheers, guys. Well, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to. Again, even Sweden once referred to Norway as the last Soviet state. And of course, like I put things on the edge here, but to say that some people would still be behind the Iron Curtain, something Norway never actually was, but you had a lot of sympathizers here. You absolutely did. And in our politics, you still freaking do. I'm worried about this year's election, let's say.
All right. White Knight has an interesting question here. Do you think Hollywood will realize it can make easy bank by re-releasing physical media? There has been an uptick in home media over the last year just because people have been home, but they have been really...
I think it's going to take another generation, because the current generation, they were the ones who decided that it's going to be our thing to move away from physical media. And here's the thing as well. They don't actually want you to own physical media, because with physical media, yeah, they get the quick cash, but at the same time, you own the movie and you can see the movie whenever you want at your leisure, for as long as you have that physical media. Whereas the studios, they would much rather you see the movie at their dime every time, at their leisure. And so that they can take it in, remove it, change it, whatever they see fit. They can't do that if you physically own it. So there's like multiple things here. They would honestly much rather you pay a fixed streaming fee, and then leave it up to them what's available for you to enjoy and when. That's like the issue with physical media. That's one thing that Hollywood, and Tom can explain more about this, but many in Hollywood were never into physical media because they wanted full control over where their wares are exhibited, in what form, how, and where. It was really important to them that you don't get to own it and watch it at your leisure. That's naughty. You don't get to do that. So many are ecstatic that they're now back to like a rental model where you no longer own the movie. And there are many people that they don't want you to have it.
Yeah, because it makes you non-reliant on them. They can keep track of what you're watching, how often. They like that idea too. I mean, physical media is going to take a while to completely die out, but we are in the last generation of physical media, probably. 4K Blu-ray is the end of the line, folks. After this, I guarantee you that unless there's some kind of resurgence like there was with vinyl, which I highly doubt, there's not going to be any kind of physical media resurgence anytime soon.
Well, maybe in 10 years from now, Laserdisc will be the hot shit. Who knows?
I doubt it. That's already kind of had its little moment and gone. No, I mean, because we're at a point now where there's so many movies that didn't make their way from DVD or from VHS to DVD. There's a lot of movies that'll never make their way from DVD to Blu-ray. And there's even less movies than that'll make their way from Blu-ray to 4K. So it's really at the end of the line. But the most you can do is just go out there and buy the movies you like. I know physical media can take up a lot of space for some people, and that's why a lot of people are turning to digital, which is fine and understandable. But just remember that you can buy them on there, but you don't own them. And they can change anything they want whenever they want, and there's nothing you can do about it, up to and including taking something away without you having any say. So just keep that in mind. And that's things I think we're going to definitely deal with a lot more going forward here in the next couple of years as physical media gets phased out and more people realize, wait a minute, I don't own this movie that's on Amazon and they lost their license. Why did my movie go away? You know, and then when you call them and go, well, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing you can do. They might give you a free rental like Apple did, but that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like the thing that you really have no power because it's all at their discretion.
But I'm somebody who is definitely into film preservation, and I don't think this is a good thing that is happening right now because less films will be preserved. And when it comes to streaming, quality is not generally the first thing they worry about. So there you go. And we had a couple of super chats come in here in the meantime, actually. It looks like.
Can you bring them up?
I think that's the last one, unless I missed one because that's all the farther I can go.
Well, I shall have a quick
double check. But Golgo13 says, anything you love, get it on physically. Yep, that's what I was saying. Get multiple players and get it backed up multiple ways. Do not give them the power. I have the power. He-Man. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was saying. And then Rambam 3000 says, remember the cloud is basically a mainframe, which is somebody else's computer. There's that as well.
Yes, exactly. And also, I would like to repeat to everyone, if you have some kind of cloud storage or something like that on your mobile, so that your pictures or files or anything like that automatically goes into some cloud service, whether it be iCloud or anything else, disable that shit. Because or if you don't, then use it at your own discretion. You know, like all of those celebrities whose nude pictures are released all the time. I certainly knew about that when Leslie Jones' nude pictures were leaked online, because I got so many emails with them sent to me. So yeah, thanks a lot. I really,
in other words,
don't did not appreciate that. But anyway, point is that the way that happened is that people just snapped their own pictures, as one does, and they didn't think anything of it. They maybe deleted their copies from the phone, but they were still there in the cloud. And then some person hacked their iClouds, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, and then Mags comes in here with buy physical media, then use Plex for your own streaming. Check it out. Now, yes. You use Plex. I don't have a Plex. What is
I don't use Plex. I use Kodi.
Okay. Well, what is Plex? What are they?
The same thing.
I'm not familiar with them. What are they exactly?
Well, basically, what you do to make it as legal as possible. Here's like the thing that many people are like, or many in the industry are against any kind of Android device that will play either Plex or Kodi, because they are so good for pirated content, which we do not condone in any way, shape, or form. Neither we nor our sponsor Surfshark in any way condones that you go to the high seas and get content. Although Surfshark totally helps you to do that. Anyway, be that as it may, though. What it basically means, yes, Golgo13 is right here. Plex is a software solution to create a home NAS system for media streaming in the home. So basically what it is that you need two components. One is that you need some kind of a hard drive, whether it be a NAS or it be an external disk that you just connect to a device like an NVIDIA Shield or another device that will do the trick, where you then store your movie files. Now, exactly how these files get there, let's just say that the best way to get there is you have your DVDs, and then you use like software to rip the DVDs that you already own. So you're just creating digital copies, exact copies of the movies you already own. Then you dump them into the hard drive. And then you use either Plex or Kodi as the software to create like presentations. So you basically make your own custom Netflix or your own custom HBO Max or
So what
whatever.
kind of sound or video downgrade do you get from that, though?
None. That's what I said. So what, for instance, if you take a DVD and you don't do a conversion, you just do a dump. So you dump the actual raw video data straight onto the hard drive, and then you play that. It's like playing the disc. There's no loss, none at all.
Even though you're streaming it through two different things, or how does that work? I don't.
Well, the streaming part, that's entirely how you choose to do it. For instance, you can connect it through a NAS that you put straight into your server or like your internet device. Then yeah. And here's like the thing, that it really doesn't take that much juice to stream even in 4K. Most people will have that in their Wi-Fi, what is necessary for no buffering or anything like that. Or you can do what I do, which is basically that you have the files directly onto a portable hard drive, and then you connect that via USB into the NVIDIA Shield. That's what I do. That way, there's absolutely no loss, none whatsoever, because you don't.
You lost me
stream.
about 2 miles back, but okay.
Well, fine, yeah.
No, I kind of get what you're
you
saying, but like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Yeah,
I hear that this is a video that needs to be made here.
ActionCom says, "What do you think of 5D optical data storage tech?"
What does that mean? Does that mean that it's like an optical, that is like a hard drive comprised of 5 spinning disks? Is that what that means? I haven't looked up the term because I already have what works perfect for me.
And I wish I was better than that. Like, I am a complete novice sometimes when it comes to.
I'm gonna give you a crash course at some point here, including in cleaning up your desktop.
Oh yeah, I got yelled at the other day for that. So like, yeah, as you can hear, I'm not real good like with electronics.
Yeah, and
not good at all.
And Midnight said, Max says demonstration video for Plex. Maybe they can sponsor. That's a good idea.
There you go.
But anyway, basically what it does, it's technical, but it's not that difficult. What it does is it allows you to build your own library with your own interface, with posters and descriptions and art and everything like that. So you basically have your own custom Netflix of all the movies that you own.
And I got over 2,000 Blu-rays. That's a lot of work.
So yeah, that's but that in principle is what it is. That's what it is. And the way to do it where you don't do anything wrong is, for instance, you have then those 2,000 movies. You dump the content of those completely lossless into a hard drive, and then you watch those files. It's the same thing as seeing the Blu-ray.
Okay, explain to me like I'm 5. I'm kidding.
Okay, yeah.
I kind of get it.
You play a Blu-ray without actually playing the Blu-ray. There is no loss.
But I have to be able to rip those. And then, so that's my other part. I guess I'm trying to.
If you want to be on the right side of the law, yes, you have.
Well, I already have so many of them. I might. Why wouldn't I? But yeah,
exactly. Like you don't want to go and Surfshark those files from elsewhere. You don't want to do that.
Even though I legally should be able to, I technically would not.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly. So yeah. I hear that this is something that we have to we may have to do a video.
And we're not medical professionals either. That needs to be said too.
Yeah. And Hypnotic Ear Rapture says, what about music? Oh, you can do the exact same thing there. You can also build your own music library with all your how do I put this? With all your CD rips. Yes, we use that term. All your CD rips you can also put onto a Plex or Kodi server and build a beautiful library with cover art and everything like that. And yes, you can get it in FLAC lossless quality.
I have a physical media collection that makes people go, do you really need 5 copies of the La Bamba soundtrack? And to which I answer, yes.
Yeah, because it's there. I mean, you don't want to know how many different versions I own of, for instance, Hellraiser. I've had that done
God,
every
I got so
single
many.
version since VHS.
Oh, speaking of, they just announced that they're going to re-release Halloween films again now in 4K. The first film has come out in 4K, but it's getting rescanned with a Dolby Atmos soundtrack now. But like, yes, and yes, I do actually have like 4 copies or 3 copies, something like that. But yeah, I don't have the remastered copy yet. I've been trying to find that, so I will have yet another copy at some point. But no, like I have way too many copies of some things. And you're right. Most of the time, it's because there's something different about them or what have you. But yeah, there's that problem. But no, I have way too much stuff that I don't have enough shelves for now.
Yeah.
But I would never get rid of my physical media. That's my thing.
That's like the thing. You keep it, but you don't have to. Like, you can put it in a box in the basement or something, or somewhere where it will be well stored, and then you have a hard drive with everything that you need, which is a little bit more space efficient. And then instead of having the shelf, you have a glorious Netflix with your own custom artwork.
There you go.
Yeah.
Paul Freeman, Los Lobos, thanks you for your dedication. Well, there's some. This one, that was just a happenstance of having so many copies of, but like, because I'll buy lots sometimes and I'll just get extra copies. But there's certain albums and things where if I do run across them in the wild, I'll grab them just because I know they're worth something. Like recently, I grabbed a copy of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey soundtrack because I know that sells for like $20-$30 sometimes. So there you go. Joe Pat says we missed a super chat. That's very plausible.
Okay, yeah. Well, we haven't rounded out just yet. So
Yeah.
we have some that we haven't caught yet. So yeah, we haven't missed. We just haven't gotten to it yet. So next round of super chats. Then we have Max, who says, buy physical media.
We got that one.
That's how we started. The next one after that was Joe Pat 87, who says, remember Philip's vision from The Critic. Yep. The decline of physical media has brought that back. And then the final super chat was from ActionCom, wondering what we think of 5D optical data storage. I'm gonna Google that right now because I would imagine that it's 5 discs.
Well, the Philips Vision thing, that takes us back to what we were saying before, though.
Well, you can talk about the past,
real quick, was just how like they didn't want videotape. They didn't want anything you could record on. They didn't like that idea. They were trying to get behind discs or disc-based media. If they couldn't directly pipe it to your home, they were more behind things like pay-per-view early on. Hollywood tried to kill the VCR very quickly. And when they realized they couldn't, they were very slow to adapt. And I think that's the only reason VHS lasted as long as it did, to be honest with you. Because we probably should have moved on to a disc-based system much sooner than that. But between just the way the studios handled things, and then they finally realized, oh shit, there's money to be made here. When you had movies like The Lion King making almost as much as they did in the theater on video. But yeah, so what'd you find out about this, Andre?
Well, they have a web page which is where
Disease says it's crystal storage like Superman.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. Basically, it's a crystal storage where the disk is made out of crystals, meaning that the information can be jam-packed into smaller areas, so there's room for more of it on the disk. Plus, it lasts longer. Like, the information is going to last 1,000 years. Whereas with your current hard drives, it's if you're really unlucky, the whole thing can die on you and you lose everything on it. I mean, that's why you have NAS. So you have like the protection of spreading the information across multiple disks. With this, in principle, you wouldn't need that. Of course, I've only taken a cursory glance of it. I haven't researched anything in detail, so I don't know enough about it to form an opinion just yet. But yeah, it's probably cool. And also, only goes to show that disk space and storage space is something you're just going to get more and more of. So don't worry about large file size. They may seem big right now, but your available storage space is only going to be bigger and bigger. I remember it was just a few years ago when I got like a 1 terabyte hard drive, and I was like, whoa, this is huge. When I could get it, put a 1 terabyte hard drive into my PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, amazing. Whereas now I'm like worried because the hard drive that I use to put stuff into my Kodi only has 5 terabytes. So I have to be selective of what I put on it from my 20 terabyte NAS. And that's going to be tiny in just a couple of years. So yeah.
And Ben Lunch, Laserdisc never took off before DVD arrived, and there's a million videos out there that tell you why Laserdisc never took off. Even though the studios wanted to get more behind it, it was just too cumbersome. It had too many problems, and it couldn't record. I mean, you could, but like you had the fucking equipment for it was so expensive and out of touch for the average consumer. Hypnotic and Trampshire asks if Andre is an audiophile. I'm going to go with not so much. I think I'm more of the audiophile.
Probably, yeah. I want clean, clear, crisp sound with a good bass. Like, for instance, I can tell you what I have for like sound system in my home theater. I have 2 fairly ordinary Bowers and Wilkins front speakers, like not the floor standing, but the ones that you put on legs, basically. They cost for the pair. I paid, I think, about $1,000, and they have good bass. They're super clear. Love Bowers and Wilkins, and then I have a subwoofer, and that's it. And I don't want any more. I have no need for like any surround or 5.1 or 7.1. Don't want it. I just want that super clear bass-rich sound, and I want it to come from one direction. Just great for stereo as well.
Poor man.
So, and that's good enough for me. I have no desire for anything else.
You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, maybe.
I, on the other hand, am all about multi-channel stuff. I have a Dolby Atmos system with the full, 9-10 speakers or whatever. And then, all that business. So, and I have another 5.1 old Sony system that still sounds amazing. So,
yeah. So of the two of us, you are clearly the more audiophile, whereas me, I want to.
And as far as like my movie collection goes, if you think I have multiples of movies, that's why I wasn't joking about the La Bamba. So I've got several releases of a lot of albums. Like, it's not even funny, like, especially if they did like a multi-track version of it or anything like that. Like, I've been digging a lot of those new ones they've been bringing out on Blu-ray audio. Like, that's the kind of shit I love.
Yeah. And then we have, before we get into the super chat, Andre doesn't want to speak about his Sega Mega Drive 2
all of them
collection. Honestly, that collection is not, I have like maybe, 50, 60 games, something like that, all told. Yeah, thereabouts.
Well, then
to be clear, this is where I am a Feinschmecker, because the Sega Mega Drive 2 can get bent, because that actually we were lied to at the time. At the time, we were told that the Sega Mega Drive 2 was a technical upgrade from the Model 1. It wasn't. The Model 1, at least the first versions of Model 1, was the superior Sega Mega Drive. The ones where it physically says high definition audio on the box, or like on the shell of the device. That was the supreme edition. You didn't have that on any of the Model 2s. With that nitpick out of the way, let's get into the super chats here.
Let's please, because you get a new Sega Mega stuff, and we'll be here all fucking day.
Oh, to hell yeah! That's Nobody Guy says for $10. I love all your shows. You guys inspired me to start expanding my media collection. I recently got both Conan's and Lord of the Rings Extended. Do you know where to find unaltered OG Star Wars trilogy? Tom, do you know?
There's various ways you can find it. Can't legally tell you. But you could probably find it in most places that you find a lot of other illegal downloads, but technically, legally, you can download them and own them in the original forms if you own them in the original forms. So say if you own the VHS or the Laserdisc from back in the day, technically you are allowed to own them again. And there's nothing that can be said about it. So that being said,
well, let's just put it that way, that we cannot, we may or may not know, but we cannot tell you where. We can tell you though is what you want to.
It's not hard to find.
Starters is you don't want these special editions. Like, imagine if there were something called like despecialized.
At least for one of the films,
look for something like that. Yeah.
I could recommend for the second film, definitely go for the despecialized, since Empire's not available in the ones I'm about to tell you about, and that is 4K 77 and 4K 83. Those are the two best versions out there right now of Star Wars and Jedi. And what those are painstakingly done scans done by fans of prints of those films that they found and put together, recolor timed and scanned by themselves in 4K, and put out there. So those are they're findable. Just Google. You could probably find it within a couple of minutes. But again, we can't condone or recommend anything as far as that goes outside of those are the versions I would find.
We don't condone anything. Yeah. We like it, just use Surfshark to keep yourself safe. And I see people in the chat have got you covered, so it's all well.
Yeah, and 4K 80 should be on its way sooner or later. I've been hearing rumors for a while about it. So, but the despecialized editions also are very, very well done.
And ActionCom wonders, would you take a risk on a Blu-ray/DVD carousel?
Oh, yeah.
What is that? Is that like a thing where you can put like 10 Blu-rays and stuff like that?
You could get ones back in the day that could actually hold like 100. Oh yeah. I mean, worst comes to worst, if something happens to you, just take it apart and get your discs out. I mean, I'm an avid seeker of whenever I go to like a thrift store, I'll always check out the Blu-ray players, because I'll tell you what, guys, I have found several DVD, CD carousel players, nice players for dirt cheap. And one time I even found a 4K Blu-ray player. I don't even think they realized what they had, for $7. And it ended up costing me more to get a replacement remote because it didn't have a remote. So yeah, I recommend definitely buying, if you're somebody who's into physical media, start buying now, because a lot of these companies are quitting to make, like Oppo quit making them like 2 years ago, I think. And some of the other companies are really starting to slow down. I think Philips is one of the few that still does. Outside of that, there's not many. And Xbox is also, if you can find an Xbox One for cheap, get it. It's a great 4K player. And it also plays other media, of course. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, again, you can do it without breaking the bank. So yeah, I'd go for it.
Yeah. And then one we missed from the screen was Super Blubberpuss, who says, I have a NAS with 75 terabytes worth of movies and TV. Well, that is a lot of movie backups of movies that you legally bought right there. An impressive collection. That's very,
think I could fill that up?
If you could. What?
Think I could fill it up with my stuff?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure you could.
Probably.
Yeah.
And then Paulus Plain also had another one here, unless you had another classic one that we had yet.
Yeah, no, that was it for the classics. And he says to Andre, please make a Midnight's Edge documentary of the 1980s in Norway. NRK. That's Tom, when I say the term NRK, what does that sound like to you? Like, what associations springs to mind from something with a 3-letter term like NRK?
KGB? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm very glad you said. No, actually, that's the name of the Norwegian broadcaster. The one channel we had was NRK. It's short for Norwegian National Broadcasting.
I thought it was
which in Norwegian is spelled out NRK. And then TVN, that's TV Norway, Sky One, Super Channel, MTV Europe. I miss MTV Europe so badly. No, I don't think I can do a documentary of those because it's too niche. But I will say I miss MTV.
Maybe
Europe.
something for
we'll do a mini version of it when doing a video on.
Yeah, because I don't think it would constitute all the editing and stuff. But yeah, like if you did like a quick video on it for our members or something, maybe I could see that.
Yeah. We'll see what we can
do. Like some memories and stuff like that.
But yeah, fuck, I miss MTV Europe.
I miss MTV. Period.
I don't, because MTV's just a joke now, and in Europe,
that's what I mean. The real MTV from back in the day.
To me, MTV died when MTV Europe died and got split into all of these generic regions. I will say one thing about MTV Europe. MTV Europe was beautiful. You know why it was beautiful? Because in America, you have like one huge nation comprised of 50 states. And of course, there are vast cultural differences from one state to the other, but it's still all America. It's all the same language. It's all the same currency. It's the same basic underlying values tying the country together. At least it used to be back when MTV was a thing. Today, not so much. But in Europe, you take your car and you drive a number of hours in any given direction, and boom, you're in a new country. Different language, different culture, everything is different. Within the same square area of America, you have like 20 different countries, 20 wildly different cultures. And MTV Europe represented it all. That was the beauty of MTV Europe. There you would listen and you would discover music that you couldn't imagine. Suddenly you'd be like fan of a tiny little group from Poland. And then instantly after that would be like a huge American act. And then you'd head over to what's hot in Germany and then in France this week. That was the power and beauty of MTV Europe. And then they split that up. So you had MTV Nordic playing just our homebrew local shit with what was good from the UK and America. And then you would have MTV UK with just Britpop, and you would have MTV France. Basically, you lost all of like this true diversity in music and cultural stuff like that. So I miss MTV Europe so badly. But anyway, I'm ranting. I'll stop with that.
No, that's all good. Troy Pacelli says Google Harmy Specialized Edition. Yeah, that's pretty much what we said. Especially at least for the second film anyway, since there's no other choice there. But I cannot recommend enough the 4K 77 and 83 releases. They look gorgeous. That's the only downside of Harmy's specialized editions is they come from so many different sources that the quality kind of varies. But yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
I think that was the last of the super chats, but you might want to double check because I can't bring any more up.
I'm going to do a quick double check. I think that may have been the last one. Yes, that was the last one. So we are now fully up to speed.
6 wanted to know when the next member stream was going to be. That's a good question. I think we're hoping to have one soon, are we not?
We're hoping to have one inside of a week.
Yes,
we'll have one because we have now with Iconicon, we have suddenly much more streaming to do. I'll be on Robert Meyer Burnett show this Friday midnight. Inside of a week, we will have another member stream. And exactly which day we will get back to. And with that, I just have to say, Lady Lion Tooth says, I miss Ray Cokes. Yeah, I miss MTV's Most Wanted too. Those were the days.
Yeah, died after MTV. MTV died with Beavis and Butthead. That was kind of the point. It was like after that, it just went downhill. In the U.S. anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
it was MTV for years before that. So
Yeah. All right. With that, then, the chat have spoken. It is time for some koalas in the rain. But do remember, check out everything Iconicon. So head to the link in the description, see the panels, go check them out, say that we sent you. And on Friday, at the same time as the regular Midnight's Edge in the morning show, we will have our own Sword and Sorcery Iconicon. And then, if something shocking happens in the world of genre culture, we'll do a special after that.
And don't forget, tomorrow at the same time, I'll be talking Ninja Turtles over on the other stream there. I said, so there you go. See you guys tomorrow I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Ninja Turtles stream, and we'll see you all Friday on the Sword and Sorcery stream. And also we have Midnight's Edge Espanol tomorrow and Mead as well. So check in for that. Till next time, take care of yourselves and each other. And it's time for Koalas in the Rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.